am so happy to be here.
And today we're going to be talking about quick tips for self-care. So let's just dive right into this topic and tell me, what is this? What is it that we're talking about when we say quick tips for self-care?
So it's this funny thing. When we think of the word self-care, I did a workshop at U of T about self-care, and I was really surprised when I asked people what they thought of when they thought of self-care. The words that came out were so judgmental. They were words like indulgent, selfish, wasteful. Like there was really this incredible judgment around it. And I guess why I think it's so important to talk about self-care is that I think that there is a misconception about what it is. I think we sort of picture sort of going on to a spa or bubble baths or sort of letting go of life and being like, I think we confuse self-care with selfish.
So how would you define it?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think at its root, self-care is about really getting in touch with your needs and fulfilling your basic needs. Like that's really where self-care starts, is starting to have a consciousness about what your needs are. Because I think, especially as women, it's very easy for us to be disconnected from our needs.
So that's part of why it's important. Is there anything else that you would add to that?
I think it's to start to shift that lens of awareness from the selfish to the care. Even the word self-care is a little bit misleading, and we'll get to that as we move into this. Like it's not just about you. It is about where you are in your family, in your community, in work. It has to do with everyone, with yourself and everyone around you. And it is sort of a more multi-layered thing.
So tell me a little bit about what often gets in the way other than our attitude about it. Like you said, people are very judgmental about it. They look at it in a very critical way. What could you add to that?
I think the judgment is huge. And the other thing that's really big is that we just don't value it. For the most part, there are things that culturally that we value. We value work. We value productivity. We value sort of these markers where we can see ourselves moving forward. And there's not a lot of value placed on having a quiet moment and connecting with ourselves and saying like what's happening for me right now?
We're not tying the self-care into our other goals and the achievements that we could have if we actually did the self-care.
Yeah, and I think what happens is that because it gets left to the wayside, we don't make time for it. It's not a priority. We don't value it. Because we don't make time for it, we're walking around with these big gaps in our needs. And what happens is that because we value work and we value productivity, we actually end up working on like a half-empty tank instead of coming forward full and ready to give. Because we don't value it, it actually ends up working against us in terms of the things that we do value.
So what can we do to begin to actually claim our self-care, to change our mindset, to be able to take what we normally do in a day and turn it around so that self-care is actually built into what we are doing as we move forward? What would be a way that we could start with this?
So I think one place that I love to start is with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. A need is not a negotiable. Like we have very basic needs. And so I love to take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we can start by just looking at our physiological needs. So physiological needs are food, water, warmth, rest, right? So starting to ask ourselves simple questions like, am I hungry? Have I slept enough? Am I tired?
So